Welcome to the Assistant Room Podcast Season 2. We are the go-to online community for assistants around the world. And if you're looking for some serious career inspiration from some of the best and brightest executive assistants, you're in the right place. If we haven't met before, or if you're just joining us, I'm Jessica Gardner, founder of award-winning PA/EA membership platform, The Assistant Room. Make sure you hit the follow button to keep up to date with all of our future episodes. But without further ado, welcome to Season 2 of the Assistant Room Podcast. In this episode, I sit down with Sophie Chapman, EA to entrepreneur, speaker, investor, author, BBC Dragon, and the host of one of Europe's biggest podcasts, Diary of a CEO, Steven Bartlett. Together, Sophie and I cover everything from the reality of supporting a boss who has transitioned from the role of CEO to public figure, how she manages to create a work-life balance in a role where many might find it absolutely impossible, how she creates boundaries with a boss who is also considered a friend outside of the workplace, and we talk about her secret formula to not losing her identity when you're swept up in the world of someone in the spotlight. Welcome, probably on the hottest day of 2022 this year. I left the house this morning thinking my makeup was going to melt off my face and my hair was going to end up in a big poofy frizzy mess.
Like this.
No, you look fabulous.
Literally.
You look
I look how you thought you were going to look coming today. You look fantastic.
You look 10 times better than I thought I was going to look like.
Sweaty lip has already started, so sorry to be grim.
No, it's good. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for asking me to be here.
What's it like to be on the opposite side of a podcast situation at the moment? Because obviously you look after somebody who undeniably, I suppose, hosts the most popular podcast that is currently in circulation.
Yeah, well, thank you for letting me be on the podcast because I'm not allowed to go on the other big one, the Diary of a CEO. So yeah, I just said to you before, this is like my dress rehearsal to try and get a slot on there, right? Yeah, it's really, really nice to experience this. I've done voiceovers and stuff in the past, so I'm a little bit used to the studio environment kind of pre-Steve, but it is nice to be honest, it's actually just nice to take a window out of my working day to focus on something that is not work related for once and to talk about our industry perhaps.
Exactly. It's a refreshing opportunity.
Yes, thank you for it.
You're welcome. Okay, well, let's talk about your journey so far. So 2008, you graduated. Yeah. Obviously, we're now in 2022. So why don't you talk us through how you went from graduating from Liverpool in 2008 to where you are now, which is looking after Steve, who is the host of A Diary of a CEO, the newest dragon in Dragon's Den, and a serial entrepreneur. So why don't you give us a bit of background?
Yeah, so I graduated in 2008 from entertainment management. I always had the intention to become an actress and fell out of love with that and got really interested in the administrative side of managing talent. So I took the course because I thought, right, I want to make money if I'm gonna, I was a little bit too commercially driven to be an actress, I guess, because I was like, well, how am I gonna make money out of these things? So I took my degree with view of managing myself.
I love that. I think that is so interesting.
Yeah, and then gave up on wanting to become an actress. But at the same time, I always grew fascinated with who's that person's agent, or how did that person get a job on Coronation Street or whatever. So I was always like flicking through, the credits at the end of television. I was always very mindful of, oh, that's the casting director and that's that person. So I just kind of had like this eye for networking as such. And as I say, I just enjoyed the bits that no one really liked about either putting a show together, putting an event on, creating a play, what have you. I enjoyed the finances, the receipts, how's the crew going to get over to, how we get in all the travel and everything arranged for the crew that are touring. I just enjoyed the logistical side of everything. So off the back of that, I ended up getting a really good work placement actually on a show called Premier League All Stars. And it was a Sky One program, and it included celebrities playing ex-footballers and fans in like a whole football tournament. And again, it was just travel booking and artist liaison stuff, but it was really, really great experience. Off the back of that, I did a 3-month internship at Sony BMG in artist relations. And again, I just really become interested in this, operational slash logistical, hospitality, lifestyle management side of talent. So that was like my work experience and my degree experience kind of wrapped up. And then it gets tough, right? You want these jobs and they're not so easy to come by the minute that you leave university. So I literally registered on every creative recruitment agency, and I took on any temping, reception, run a role in TV environments, film environments, to the point where every recruitment agent knew about me, because if there was a day's work on, I don't know, a reception for a TV studio,
they would phone you.
I would take it. I was available. And, I kind of worked every other job that I didn't want to do just to make sure that I was free during those core times when the work that I really did want to do became available. So then, the recruitment agencies, they really had their eye out for me. They were like, okay, we need to get her a permanent role. It turns out, what did I do? I then went over to a place called Rinse FM, which was a community radio station, and was also responsible for managing the likes of KTB, Magnetic Man, very, very big in like the dubstep garage world that, again, I'm far too uncool to talk about. So I was PAing for music managers there.
Okay.
When I was there, you got to see the insides you got an insight, I guess, to production, to, going to festivals and running stages at the likes of Lovebox and what have you. And again, I really enjoyed the admin side of things. I was there for 2 years. And then I got my first celebrity role as such, working for Eliza Doolittle. Mm-hmm. Eliza at the time was releasing her second album, and she was going into promo cycle for it. So I was very much on the road with her, and I worked very, very personally with her, essentially supporting management, but making sure that her life ran like clockwork, and she was, it was an intense kind of global schedule, and she was there, and she was in the right mindset, and she was feeling happy about what she was wearing, and, her house was all running shipshape at home. So yeah, I was with Eliza for 5 years. I was in London at the time, and it was all brilliant, and then the role kind of slowed down as such. She was kind of going on a different journey with her music and what have you. And at the time, I'd been doing the PA thing for a long, long time on the personal side, and I just kind of needed to realign a little bit and figure out, okay, is this what you want to do? Do you want to run around and do these things, or do you want to maybe get some more stability? So as the role was dying down, I kind of, I went from full-time to part-time. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, right, this is my opportunity to move back to Liverpool, where I was so passionate about ending up, right? So I moved back to Liverpool. I took on a property management role. Again, I learned so many things about
That's
property.
where I first started with my EA career. I was a property manager at one point. Yeah.
It's hard.
It is.
It's not glamorous, but you learn so many things that become applicable to being a PA or an EA or an operations manager by working in a property environment. So frankly, I would absolutely recommend getting involved in property if you want to end up as a career PA, because I learned so much there. I really did. Tenancy agreements, contracts, how to improve credit rating, all things that became relevant when I was working for, when I've worked for different sorts of people. Yeah. So took that job on with full intention of getting a role, again, in talent PAing as I wanted to, but in the North, which wasn't easy because, the entertainment industry is it was more so then, but it's primarily focused in London. But I thought, nope, I'm going to do it. I've got to do it. It makes me happy. I need to be based a little bit closer to home. So then a maternity contract came up for Sir David Brailsford of Team Ineos, formerly of Team Sky. And I took that role and thought, right, I can take this role and I can really establish myself within that Northwest scene with a prominent EA role, and I can use it to network, navigate, and essentially get the full-time role that I wanted. Maybe it would be in a football club, maybe it would be with a high net worth.
So it was a very strategic decision
100%.
to take that job, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy decision to make, because it's very easy to fall into the trap of, you know, London is where it's at, you've got to stay here or whatever. But I thought, I've got to do it, because it was just an overbearing feeling for me that London wasn't going to make me happy, ironically. So I took that role. And then the day before that contract was about to finish, I got a phone call again from one of the recruitment agents that I'd made sure I stayed in contact with. And there was a member of a, you know, huge, the most famous boy band you can possibly imagine. They were looking for an assistant. So I went for an interview. I went back to London, did an interview, because this role was going to be based between New York and LA. Took the role, and I was literally flown to New York 2 or 3 days after accepting it.
Wow.
So it all happened really, really quickly. That was that. I took the role, and it was all super exciting. It was all a bit eyes on me for a minute, because this was like a once in a lifetime role. Stayed there for, I think I was there for just over 3 weeks between New York and Los Angeles, and I got fired. Not for situations beyond my control. It was something that, you know, I had to set my boundaries. Nothing too dreadful, but I couldn't do right for doing wrong. So I followed instructions, but the instructions compromised what someone else wanted. And, you know, what happens in Hollywood and in A-list environments, people can be picked and dropped as anyone sees fit, and that was that. So I was sent home on a flight.
How did that feel, though? You'd kind of taken that leap, as you said, it was really exciting. You were flown out there. It must have been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Supporting somebody who everyone watching this or listening to this is going to know who that person is. Mm-hmm. What did that do to your confidence? Or did you leave that role thinking, no, this is happening for a reason? Or did you feel a bit of a bruise to your ego in a sense?
Do you know what? It was never a bruise to my ego, because when I took the role, it was going against everything that I had planned. I wanted to live up north, right? This was now taking me out of my comfort zone. So I've got an apartment in Liverpool, and I was like, right, I'm just going to live there, and, you know, I'm going to settle down as such, probably compromising on ambition slightly, but this whole LA, New York opportunity was going to take me out of my comfort zone. And, you know, I probably didn't want to admit it at the time, but there was probably a risk going to work for a character that I was going to work for. Because you think, right, I'm turning maybe 29, and you start thinking, do you want to go on the road? Do you want to go on the road, or do you want to start thinking about families and boyfriends and stuff like that? So it wasn't a bruise to my ego, because it sounds awful, I've never been impressionable about the people that I've worked for, right? I've always enjoyed the thrill and the pressure and the diversity of the projects that I get to work on by working for the people that I've chosen to work for. So it sounds awful. I wasn't starstruck by it, but I was initially thrilled that, oh my gosh, I'm going to be traveling the world and stuff like that. When it didn't happen, honestly, I was like, it's meant for a reason. And I guess this kind of boils back to, you know, why I've probably been quite successful in my career, is that I just have this, when it comes to work, I have it is what it is attitude. And I'm quite bullish and very, I can make it happen. I'm a good person while I do it, but I just go, I'll make it happen, and it's what it is.
Yeah.
So if I were to see that as, you know, defining me, that being fired, if being fired from this role was going to define me, well, you know, I could have buried my head for 6 to 12 months, and I could have wallowed and what have you. But I was just like, no, you get to be home now. You get to see your friends and family that you were missing so much anyway. It's a tale to tell. And also you've kind of got all this brilliant London experience, which, you know, quite frankly, maybe not a lot of people have got it in the North. Just go and use it to your advantage. And that's what I did. I was over it. I think it was to be honest, I think it was a bigger blow for, not my mom and such, but there were so many people that were so excited about Sophie's gonna go to LA and do this. I think it was a bigger blow for them. I was a bit like, yeah, all right, it's disappointing, but we move. Literally, we move. And that was my attitude. So anyway, I seen that this guy with this camera who floats around Manchester vlogging himself, who's doing, you know, he's quite a big deal. This guy called Steven Bartlett's looking for an assistant. And I was like, right, that's that. I think I was one of the only people that managed to get a job at Social Chain via a LinkedIn application, because everyone, you know, the place was known for really, really creative CVs.
How creative? What was the most creative one that you can remember?
Pardon me. I wasn't there at the time, but I know that someone did fly an owl in.
What?
Yeah, they wanted to attract...
Harry Potter style.
Basically. And then, yeah. So there was all kinds of things. When I was there, I remember a guy travelled over from Lithuania in a pink suit just to give his CV. And I remember Steve calling in the whole business and interviewing him there and then, right? So he was like little
no
old...
pressure.
Yeah. I don't know whether he got a job. I don't think he did, but you know, he tried, and that's admirable. So, yeah, little old me got a job via LinkedIn, and the rest is history. So that wasn't a brief answer, but I apologize.
No, but that's good. That's good. And now obviously he's gone from CEO of Social Chain to a public figure, and you've been working together for what, nearly 10 years now?
No, oh gosh, I'm not that old. Nearly 6.5 years.
Nearly 6.5 years. But that must have been an incredible journey for you both to go on together, you know, in that working kind of sense, and that you know, friendship that you've got now, going from being a CEO to being a public figure. What's that been like?
Do you know what? I don't think I've yet realised the impact that Steve is having, because it sounds silly. Like when we first started out, when I joined Social Chain was such a big deal in its own right. And it was, you know, it was just a family and a team of people that knew where, not just Steve, but where Social Chain was going to get to, right? And everyone just had mammoth ambitions. So it sounds silly, but because I knew the journey that we were going on, this Social Chain family as such, it almost hasn't come as a surprise to me that Steve is in the situation that he's in, because everyone that was on that ride from so early on, we were just gunning for him. And, you know, we just knew that it would happen one day, because we were just, oh gosh, the way that everyone was working to kind of bring the dream alive, it was only a matter of time as such. I don't want to sound cocky like that, because, you know, the whole situation, I will feel completely humbled to be part of it. But Steve was vlogging and creating content and doing all these things that, you know, not many people were necessarily doing at the time. And he was innovating and he was disrupting. So someone would have picked up on what was happening at Social Chain, because it was just such a hub. It was such like a not firing point, but it was just, what's the word? It was, let's say hub. It was just such a hub of creativity, of positivity, of people that looked out for each other, that looked after themselves, that dreamed big, that believed everything was possible, that broke down boundaries, barriers, you name it. There was someone in there doing it, and it was creating this whole collective dream. And it all just came together, and the rest is history. So yeah, it's like a super exciting journey that we're on now, but nothing's changed as such. I think it's good that I'm a friend in this situation, because I think more importantly, when someone who is in a position of profile or celebrity or what have you, I just think it's very important to have like a unit and a team around them that are supportive, that remember to have like their best interests at heart. So I think that's the most important thing for me in this whole journey that we're on. And I'm sure it's, you know, I'm a big believer in where Steve will go as well. I think it's the start of an even bigger journey too. So for me, it's just a matter of like working hard, making sure that he is focused and that his priorities are all met and he is living his best life and doing what he wants to do, regardless of, you know, the outside hype of profile and media buzz and everything. And I'd like to think that there is a team around him that are fully on that mission too and have the same intentions to care about him and to care about each other as it gets crazier and crazier, because it's getting nuts right now. Yeah. Quite honestly.
Well, and you're obviously part of that amazing team. A huge part of that amazing team.
Like the mother.
Like the mother hen, keeping everything going and keeping everything going in the background. And obviously I got in touch with you and, well, I became kind of more aware of who you are. Yeah. Sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Like I've always known who you are. But I became more aware of your profile and your name when there was that appreciation on LinkedIn given to you. And I think that's such, like, regardless of who your boss is, I think just from an executive assistant, personal assistant, anybody within this kind of operational supporting role, having that outward understanding that your PA or your EA is so important to your life is actually really rare. Not many execs would, or bosses would go on LinkedIn and say how important you are to their lives. A lot of execs or bosses hardly say it to their PAs even behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So what was the response to that like?
I'll be honest, that response took me my whole weekend to respond and just accept the LinkedIn invites, because there was a lot. That got something like 4 million views, right?
Wow.
But I'll be honest, sorry, just tap the microphone. The most important thing that I could take from that post wasn't about or for me. I think it was just a really, really good example of a leader or a CEO or a manager remembering to care about a member of his team. And I think that's the best thing that can come from that post for me, is for other CEOs, leaders, or anyone in like a position of line management. It's really important that they on board what that message was, and it's essentially to show a little bit of gratitude sometimes.
And say thank you.
Absolutely. And honestly, like, gratitude doesn't have to be a LinkedIn post. It doesn't have to be like a public display of affection or praise or whatever it is. But, you know, my role, and I'm sure many other roles, not just assistants or what have you, you know, there's a lot of people under a lot of pressure, okay? And there's a lot of, you know, there's high stakes involved, and it's really, really important that people who are in a position to thank do thank, because with that gratitude comes loyalty. It becomes like someone who is such a great ambassador for your team, for your company, for your culture. And honestly, things like that can be more important than a pay rise, can be more important than a bonus or promotion. It's the little things. It's the little things, yeah. And that's what, so yeah, it did go crazy for me. And, you know, I had like invites for people wanting me to do things like this, and it takes me a few months to book them in because it all gets a bit busy. So there's definitely been opportunities that have arisen, such as this. Thank you again for inviting me on, that have arisen from the LinkedIn post. There's been, you know, people sending goodies to the office and stuff like that, which is always nice. But yeah, as I say, I just want to be an example of the importance of saying thank you.
Yeah, and I think you've done that. And it's just so lovely to see how someone can also, it sounds so weird, but sort of feel comfortable saying thank you and for helping me with so many different things. Because I think you find a lot of executives or bosses don't want people to know how much help they actually receive.
But that's so old school,
yeah,
right? We have we've got a chat on work, and it is a gratitude chat. And it is literally a free forum. And if someone in the team is really grateful or appreciative of somebody that's done something nice for them, throw it in the chat, right? We don't have to, it's not always about rewarding people and bonusing and things like that. But a thank you is just so important. So our environment at work is very, very much about acknowledging people that are going the extra mile. Not only does it make people feel good, but it also teaches other people how to win at work, right? Like, let's be real about it. If somebody is receiving high praise because they've done X, Y, Z, I want the team to look at me when I'm being thanked or what have you, and I want them to go, okay, maybe I should not act like that, because they're all brilliant at what they do, but I like to set an example of this is how to win, and this is how to do things well and do things to the degree where leadership is looking and is grateful, because it's important no matter what level of the business or of the game you're at. It's just really important to say thank you. And I think when you are very mindful of manners and please and thanks in general, it reflects in everything. It reflects in how you communicate on email. It reflects in how you build relationships, how you create new partners that might benefit your business in future. It improves your networks. A prime example, somebody did me a favor the other month, and I took them for dinner and I said thank you, right? And that contact, okay, wasn't taken for dinner to become a contact, but that is now someone who's a really valuable contact for me. And I said this the other week on Twitter. I said that the quality of your contact sometimes is how well you thank them. And again, it's not about dinners. It's not about the wining and dining. It's just about not being so quick to receive and take without, I've got you as well. Thank you. I haven't forgotten
It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting back to that LinkedIn post, the whole importance of that for me was, it was just a lesson in saying thank you. And everyone should do the same.
Everyone should 100% do the same.
And if they don't, people forget to say thank you.
If anybody listening to this can take one thing, it's to say thank you more often.
Say thank you, exactly.
Okay, so let's go back to what your role looked like at the beginning versus now. Yeah. So much must have changed. The skill set that you use, the demands on your time, everything that naturally comes with the evolution of somebody's career, and obviously that is yours.
Yeah.
So what does it look like now in comparison to back then?
When I started out working one-to-one with a creative, I was very in the weeds with essentially managing their lifestyle, their scheduling, even things like their appearance and their fitness regime and their dietary needs and what have you. It could be quite lonely at times. However, there are certain elements of that are now more relevant to Steve, now that he has transitioned into this TV profile, let's say, because he's busier than ever. He's not just a CEO, because he's a CEO still now, right? He's a podcaster, he's a dragon, he's a TV personality. And again, he's got 2 to 3 businesses that he's heading up and growing and what have you. So the earlier elements of working for a creative, and again, and so personal, now come into play a little bit more, but almost in a team environment as well. So I'm kind of in this hybrid role where I'm working as a team member and navigating kind of the operational elements of Steve's projects. That's podcasting, that's, that's speaking engagements, that's going to Dragons and film in Manchester for 6 weeks or what have you. So I'm kind of running all like the logistical side, the administrative side, helping out with elements of the finance on those projects. However, I now bring to the table my experience of working with a celebrity, and I support on the personal side of things. So, styling and grooming and all those things that played such a big part in these pop stars' lives, they're now playing some sort of role, not styling as such, like we're not divas and things like that, but you know, I do prepare Steve if there's a red carpet going on and what have you. So it's just all very, it's like all my old kind of junior.
They were like a lead up to this role that you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, but I've got the best of both worlds now because I'm in a team environment, which is so important. And I don't think you realize the importance of being in a team until you're without one, right? So when I was working, again, one-to-one with these artists and in their houses and stuff, as I said, it was super, super lonely. Now I replicate that in a team environment. So I kind of have like this corporate element of my job and this personal side. So it's crazier beyond belief. But I do think that my grounding in a music and TV and sports environments have kind of set me up to make sure that Steve runs as efficiently as he possibly can, which is the key. You'll notice in like press, media, music environments, it's very active and last minute, and everybody wants an answer there and then because, you know, ASAP, right? So I think it's just as well that I've got the experience that I have because I'm not too phased in essentially making everything happen that needs to happen, because now there's like this double life of like Steve the dragon and Steve the media profile, but Steve the businessman as well. So it has gone crazy. I probably need to delegate a little bit more than I do, but I'm always super grateful, thankful again, of the junior experience because I really do have to plug it in now to kind of the bigger projects and the really, really high stakes situations that we're in, because we just don't have time to like let the ball drop because there's not much time to play with due to the demand on him right now.
And obviously demands on your time, tight deadlines, high pressure environment. What are the kind of pros and cons from the perspective of somebody who works in a supporting role?
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons of working in a role like you do at the moment?
Yeah. I think, do you know what? The biggest pro for me, you'll notice this, but I'm very like team first, right? And I'm not just saying it for the sake of the podcast or because it sounds good, but what I enjoy about the situation that I'm in now, working with Steve, is that it opens up so much more opportunity to the younger members of the team. I really do get a kick out of him being invited to somewhere, and you know, prime example, the other day he got a guest list to a comedy show, and you couldn't buy tickets for this thing, right? And he got to take a member of the team that was like a super fan of this person. So the biggest pro for me is being able to essentially share the benefits of Steve's position with a team that are working really, really hard for them. And that's it for me. You know, there are really, really glamorous situations that we come across, but ultimately, you know, going to a red carpet or a dinner or what have you, they're not the highlights for me. The highlights for me is working really hard under pressure towards a project or towards a goal for the team to celebrate.
I think that answer is so unusual, because I think a lot of people would say the red carpets, the fancy dinners, all of the outside glamorous things would be what would draw them to any role looking after anybody in the public eye. Yeah. You know, there's like how everyone in fashion, well, people who are not kind of, they've not got any experience in fashion going in to be a PA, they think it's going to be like Anne Hathaway. They're going to walk into a wardrobe full of things and they can just pull things out as they want. And it's not like that. Honestly, and
I love my job, right? I absolutely love my job. The favorite parts of my job are not going to these events. And if anyone does a job that's similar to me, you know, like if there is a red carpet or if there is a party, I am in the weeds like I was when I was a junior, doing things that, you know, it's not, they're not the parts that I want to do as such. and this is why I'm a career PA, I like the admin, I like the operational side of things, I like the diary management, I like, taking the impossible and making it possible. I like solving problems. To go to a red carpet sometimes is like, great, I get it.
But you just want to go home and put your feet up?
No, do you know what? Not even that, but I want people that want to get into this like real tough life of running around after celebs and what have you. I want them to be really honest with what they want from it, because I'm not relating to my situation with Steve. In these glamorous roles, your perks are guest lists and things like this and free tickets for gigs and that, which is great. But you may have worked 3 weeks non-stop without a phone call to your friends and family for that guest list at the concert. So really, really think about what you want to do, right? Go and maybe get a normal job that maybe pays better and pay for the gigs yourself.
Perspective.
It's all perspective. But it's easy for me to say because I've done that. And I would never want to like shatter someone's dreams and say, don't do it. But honestly, like the fundamentals of what I enjoy about my job, it's not meeting celebrities. It's genuinely about bringing back a good day to celebrate with the team that I work so hard for and with.
Yeah,
it's about them, and I think a lot of my team would say that. We're fortunate in the fact that there are incentives and there are opportunities for the team to go away on holidays and travel. They are the highlights of my job. So I guess the pro is we're fortunate enough that Steve is there and able to facilitate these opportunities because of his platforms and I guess because of his versatility and, the podcast and how successful things are going. The cons, I guess, of... I'd say one of the cons is, but again, it doesn't matter to me as such because I'm very passionate about my work, is it's not always... I don't always want to talk about work because people are fascinated in it. I will talk about it till the cows come home because I love it, but it's not healthy. Do you know what I mean? So it's just not... It's not always... I have to kind of set boundaries and be like, I don't want to talk to work. I don't want to talk about work with people because it's really hard to just become this one-dimensional work-focused person, which is so easy for me to do because I love my job. But again, there is naturally like so much interest now on Team SB and the podcast and things like that, which is great, and I'm here for it. But every now and then, because it's healthy too, I got to tap out and go, we're not going to speak about work right now. But come on, there could be like worse situations. There's not any real cons to my work, and I'm very, very grateful that I don't have that Monday fear, or my voice is going, sorry, I don't have Monday fear and things like that. So,
that anxiety on a Sunday night that so many people feel.
And that's a real pro in itself also.
Yeah. So when we first chatted on the phone to kind of talk about what we wanted to focus on in this episode, we spoke about work-life balance and how it's so important to get that right. And obviously you've just touched upon that. But we also kind of looped it in with the idea that when you work for somebody who is so busy, so high profile, and you are part of that absolutely crucial team that keep things going, it can sometimes be difficult to keep a handle on your own identity.
Yeah.
Especially because if there isn't that boundary between work and life. So how do you manage that? What's your experience been in kind of, that identity element of who you are? Yeah.
Well, I'm very fortunate in the fact that I still live up north. I live in London Monday to Friday, Friday to Monday, I live up north. And that is a really, really important thing for me because I'm very like heads down Monday to Friday. Friday to Monday is kind of where I go and switch off from this world, and I'm with my friends and my family, and that's really, really helpful. Also, we do have a flexible working policy. I've got unlimited paid holidays and things like that. So I'm very, 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 very solid on when my friends say there's a birthday, there's a lunch, or there's a something, I am I'm there, right? Because I have to be, because this role is so intense. I'm very fluid. I don't really have like a Monday to Friday mentality as such. I'm contradicting myself in some respects, but I'll work on a Saturday, I'll work on a Sunday, what have you, but I have to set that time to go home and to be me and to turn off my notifications. And again, like, it's just this thing every now and then of turning around and be like, I don't want to speak about work, or not always. It's very easy, and I'm a little bit less of a networker now. When you're younger, you're really proud of your role, and I am. I'm such an ambassador for Steve and the team and everything. But I also have to respect that my glamorous, high-profile little lifestyle and whatever you as a PA, it's not everyone else's lifestyle, right? So when I'm in situations that I don't have to speak about work, around my friends and family that I don't get to see all the time, I want to make it about them, right? Because I want to know how they're doing, and I want to know what's going on in their day to day. So I'm very clear in like setting the boundaries that we don't talk about work when I'm out of work. And again, I abuse the holiday policy that is on offer to me. If there is something that may seem really menial to someone, oh my gosh, like, it's someone's 21st or whatever, and I'm going to it. I'll go because it's not necessarily, I'm not necessarily doing it for me, but it's really important that I'm there with my people and I'm present. And that's, it's hard, but it's just that thing of like setting boundaries and cutting off at certain times. And I'm not the best example of it right now. I was a few months back, but it's going to the gym and time blocking things like going to the gym and cooking a meal and doing things that you want to do. And I have to do that because otherwise there's always a job to do. And because I like my job, I'll do it I'll do it all night and day. So I'm in that phase right now where the busier it's getting and almost like the more pressure and the more demand there is on my workload, I am trying to make the best effort of backing off and leaving the office at 6:00. And it's not always easy to do in theory, but I have to do it because otherwise I'm going to get to a point where I go, wow, like the whole of your 30s was just completely about work, which is allowed because it's where I'm meant to be at 30.
And it's a passion for you as well. It is a
passion, and it's a choice that I made. I took on Steve out the equation. When I committed to becoming a career PA in talent, I wanted to run with it, right? I made the choice to do late nights, early mornings, round the clock. That was my choice. So these are the cards that I've been dealt with, but it's all within my control, right? Because if I don't like it, I can tap out. But I enjoy it too much, and that's why I'm still here. So the biggest thing for me is just making sure that my family and my friends around me, just making sure that it's not always about Sophie's life and Sophie's job and Sophie's boss when I'm with them, because I'm all about them. And living in a different city to my work really does help that, because that's home, and there's
that separation.
Yeah.
Let's combine two things that you just touched upon: the gym and boundaries. And there's a very infamous book chapter written about your not so happy response to going to a gym.
Yeah.
But obviously now you're doing really well. And how long have you been going now?
I'm doing really badly again. I really am. But I can do well for the sake of this podcast, if you want.
It's fine. I buy gym kit and then I never go.
I was in the rhythm. I really was in the rhythm, and I got it, and I was waking up and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that I've been avoiding the gym for so long. And I was there, and what happened? Like, oh my God, there's a fine line between love and hate, right? And I just got carried away. So I'm not going to say the obvious about when I'm going back to the gym or anything. I'm just very, very mindful of it. And I know that no matter how busy I am, there are people that are twice as busy as me and they are going to the gym and they are doing it and they are smashing it and they're knocking it out of the park, and I have no excuses.
Maybe we should be accountability buddies.
We can be.
Because I struggle too. But on the topic of gym and boundaries, obviously the beginning of that chapter highlights how much of a good friendship that you have with your current boss. And I think the things that he has done, like saying thank you online, and the clearly really strong relationship that you both have, is a testament to that friendship. And obviously you've been working together really long time. I think it eventually happens to all PAs, EAs, bosses. You develop that friendship.
Yeah.
Because it's crucial for actually the role to work well and that dynamic to work well. So if we take that into consideration, as friends, how honest can you actually be with him? You know, if you're socialising outside of work hours, you know, as part of a group, maybe with the office or with a group of friends, and something happens and you're not quite sure how to respond to it, how honest can you really be with him without it impacting your kind of working relationship?
I'll be honest, I'm paid for my discretion, I'm paid for my honesty, right? If I'm going to compromise on the truth, I can't do this job. It's a fact. And sometimes the truth hurts, whatever it may be. But especially if it was a team environment and something happens, it's my highest priority to make sure the truth is communicated. When you're an assistant, sometimes you've got to be good cop, bad cop, right? You can't always say yes to everyone, and you've always got to remember who your priority is, but not just who, as in like, oh, Steve is my priority and I have to tell him everything. You've got to think about the group priority, right? And what telling a fib or a lie means for that team, right? Because if I'm the example of someone that bends the truth or blurs it or doesn't quite say it as it is, but you know, if my communication is not clear, I'm setting an example. If Steve's assistant lies or whoever's assistant lies, it's okay for everyone to lie. But it's not in my nature to lie anyway. I always used to say, like, in bigger teams, I'd be like, please don't let the gossip get to me if you think it's gonna cost someone further down the line. Because it's almost like I don't want to engage in gossip or, you know, who's kissing who in the office or what. I just don't want to hear it. They're so menial, like such menial examples, but I don't want to hear things because my job is to tell the truth. And if questioned or if I feel like there's a red flag or something, I'm going to be a grass. I don't want to be a grass, but it's just true because it's the role I play, and the right assistant will classically be that person for their principal too.
Well, it's your job at the end of the day, isn't it?
So it is. But in terms of like friendship and honesty, you know, everything's got context, right? And everything is right time and right place. So, you know, I'm not necessarily going to spit over the office some real truth or gossip about a friendship or something if I'm in a professional environment, right? So it's a time and a place. But yeah, I'm as transparent as they come. And I like to think that loyalty and that I think my bosses always know that at my absolute core, I've got their best interests at heart. And my truth is a big part of that. And it's served me well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So trust, loyalty, good communication, plus 100 other things obviously make a good relationship.
Yeah.
And a good working relationship between any PA and any boss.
Yeah.
What would you say is the secret to maintaining a good, strong, lasting relationship? Because obviously if you've got that foundation there, surely it should be easy to keep it going.
Yeah.
But it's not always easy.
No, it's not. It's not always easy, but communication is key. Not becoming complacent is really important as well. I've been in the team the longest, in this new version of Steve's team. I've been there the longest. So, you know, the wrong sort of person could become very, very complacent, right? You can't do that when you've been there the longest, because the example that you want to set is not one of getting comfortable, not one who takes everything offered to them and doesn't become a team player. It's bad practice. So yeah, it's communicating clearly, but it's also over time you get to know this person really, really well. So you know the silence. You don't always have to be the loudest person in the office to be proving your efficiency and your productivity, right? What else is there? I think, to be honest, it doesn't really matter whether it's a work environment or not. I just think you just need to have inherently good values, right? And you need to work. It doesn't matter that they're your principal. You need to work with anyone's best interests at heart, okay? Sometimes as a PA, you know, you've got to think, well, the team priorities may well be different to the principal's priorities. And you do have to remember your line manager and who you're working for. Sometimes there's a fine line to understand that, you know, the team may want to do X, Y, Z, but that CEO or that principal may just really need a timeout, right? Because their phones and their emails have not stopped pinging, ding, 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 ding. They're dealing with context that the team may not know of and may not understand. So with a PA, you've just got to be mindful that you are working for one person, but you almost need to treat every person in that team like they're a CEO and respect them and, you know, care for them as much. Because, as I say, like going back to this whole point of like having good values and stuff, the values that make me work well with Steve are values that I practice and exercise and would like to reflect on my team. Because one of my oldest musician bosses just always lived by like do the right thing, and it was such a useful message to me when I was starting out, because again, like it's very easy to land into celebrity situations and just take, right? And yeah, they'll have this, and I'll go and get some freebies on behalf of this person because you can name drop. That's not the way to be. So I honestly think building a good friendship or a relationship with a boss over a long time is essentially you can show it by just interacting really well with other members of the team and not always making it about them. So it's knowing the silence, listening, not always asking what their best interests are, but kind of listening out and being mindful of what your boss's best interest may be, while really caring for every piece of the puzzle that contributes so much to making him essentially be the best at his job. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Yeah?
Perfect sense.
Cool.
Okay, let's finish on the question that we always ask everybody.
Yes.
So knowing everything that you do now,
yeah,
through all of the experience that you've had,
mm-hmm.
if you were to go back to day one,
mm-hmm.
what advice would you give yourself?
As a PA, I'd say there are three pieces of advice.
Okay.
No is not an answer, right? The best EAs, PAs should consider themselves as salesmen or women, salespeople. I just think combined with not taking no for an answer and having the ability to negotiate or sniff out an opportunity sometimes where the door may be closed is going to make you a better assistant. And then something that I've always taken from my first set of handover notes when I worked for Steve, it was anything is possible, right? Sounds so simple. But if you have like the negative or the yeah, but or the no mindset, it's going to reflect in everything you do. It's going to make your job harder. Sometimes I'm given tasks and yeah, my instinct is like, oh, that's going to be a challenge, or oh, I'm not going to tell anybody, right? I'm going to say, yes, it's possible. And I'm going to believe that. And I'm going to make it happen. And if you just have that mentality in the core of you, I promise you 99% of the time, what you thought wasn't attainable, it happens. It comes together.
Thank you, Sophie.
No problem at all.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram to keep up to date with all of our future episodes. And if you're looking for a place to focus on your personal and professional development, we have a place in the Assistant Room membership with your name on it. Head to our website for more information on how to sign up and become part of our award-winning online global community for assistants everywhere.